Welcome to the Creato Connection, where we broadcast programs of interest to leaders around the world who have made a commitment to operational excellence. You can find our broadcast schedule and enroll in any topic at www.creato.com/events. Producing these programs reflects our commitment to the industry, and we also hope they will introduce us to opportunities to work with leaders like you. You'll find contact information and related offers at the end of this program. The program you've joined is titled The 3 Secrets to Sustainable Improvement Capability. Please note that this was a previously recorded event. We will start today with a brief overview of Creato Performance Solutions, followed by our featured program. The next voice you will hear is from CEO of Creato Performance Solutions, Mr. Ian Lazarus.
Hello, everybody. It's Ian Lazarus. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'd like to start with just a little bit of background on our company before we get into our featured material. Creato Performance Solutions will celebrate its 20-year anniversary this year, and we believe that leaders should have all the tools they need to excel in their mission. In doing so, we've achieved some great results for our clients, including a 7-to-1 return on investment that we demonstrated across 150 different projects that we studied. But our returns are not limited to financial gains. We are also very proud of the fact that we have supported 3 Baldrige Award-winning organizations. In the case of each of those clients, they acknowledged they could not have earned that prestigious recognition without our help. Most of the individuals in our company have about 20 years of experience. We're very proud of the channel partners that we have that offer our programs and services to their members, and you can get a lot of valuable resources and publishing that we've done on our website at creato.com. I'd encourage you to visit our site. You'll find a lot of material and resources that you can use there to begin the process of educating internally. Here is just as many organizations as we could fit on a slide. In 20 years, we've recognized that we've actually served over 100 different organizations. You'll see here a natural bias towards a lot of hospitals and health systems because that is where we spent a lot of the initial years in building our reputation. You may see some organizations there that you recognize. But again, this is just as many as we could fit on a slide, and a very good chance that we have been working with an organization in your area, and we'd be happy to put you in touch with them. So what stands in the way of improvement? This is a topic that mystifies a lot of people that are struggling to gain sustainability in their organization. It's something we spent a lot of time studying. We have published a white paper on this topic. You can download that paper from our website, but we're going to summarize a lot of those findings in the program that we're offering you today. It's worth starting with a discussion of methodologies that you may have been using or methods you may be familiar with in your organization. Most people are familiar with tried and true trial and error, which is probably a fine method as long as you're not experimenting on customers or patients. So if clinical outcomes are to be impacted, that may not be the very best method. And as you go down the list here, you'll see more and more contemporary and sophisticated methods. It's worth reflecting on the impact that these have had on your organization, and for organizations that have been working hard, it's not uncommon for them to receive some regional or national recognition for what they've done. But frankly, we're not satisfied with being good just for a month or a quarter or a year. What we're looking for on behalf of the clients we serve is sustainable improvement capability, because it is sustainability that seems to be the thing that frustrates most organizations in their efforts to improve. So when we talk about sustainable improvement capability, we're talking about something very specific. It's the ability to practice performance improvement in multiple areas with proven methods, manage to key performance indicators that are specific to customer requirements, and monitored via short-term data while controlled via long-term data. And it all starts with a commitment to a method. And commitment to a method looks like something very specific. When we're talking about a method, we're talking about things like Lean, Six Sigma, PDCA, methods that maybe have worked for you in the past. But when we are talking about commitment, that looks like something very specific. It's not simply sending people to training. It's not simply bringing in a consultant to run a project. It's these things. It's incorporating quality goals into your strategic plan or balanced scorecard, forming a quality council that will meet regularly to review and approve initiatives, allocating resources to ensure that everybody is trained in quality at levels appropriate for the role, and dedicating staff for performance improvement and giving them a career path. Measuring your capability through something known as control charts, and regularly reviewing progress in something we call toll gate reviews. Finally, aligning incentives and employee recognition ceremonies round out the list of things that represent a true commitment to a method. And when we speak at national conferences, it's not uncommon for us to have a couple of hundred people in the room, and we ask people how many of them are doing everything on this list. At best, we're likely to see about 1/3 of the audience concurring. So clearly, there is a room for growth for most of the individuals that we're meeting these days. Our survey suggests that there is a lot of activity out there in terms of use of different methodologies that I had shown on an earlier slide. Clearly, lean has the most traction in the industries that we studied. Other organizations using Plan, Do, Check, Act or Plan, Do, Study, Act. There's still a role for Six Sigma, but it doesn't seem to have as much utility as some of the other methods. And 12% of those surveyed are not using any organized method. Here again, giving credence to our argument that most organizations have room to improve and room to grow when it comes to commitment to a method. But is commitment to a method enough for sustainable improvement? If all you have done is commit to a method and to begin to move in that direction, are you really likely to experience the sustainable improvement that you really seek for your organization? Well, the fact of the matter is that if all you have done is selected a method, then the only question you have really answered is how. How are we going to improve? Well, we're going to invest heavily in lean methodologies. How are we going to improve? Well, we're going to bring in people that will train us in the methodologies of Six Sigma. Again, if all you have done is select the method, then the only question you have answered is how. But we know that people in your organization have many other questions. What is going to be the focus of this improvement initiative? Where are the improvement resources going to be housed in this organization? Who is going to be responsible as the caretaker for these valuable resources? And the all too familiar why. Why do we have to do this now? Now is not a good time. In fact, if you've heard anything on this list, then you are encountering the natural kind of resistance that people will exhibit whenever they're presented with a change in their work environment. And if all you have done is selected the method, then you have fallen victim to something that we call tool seduction. You were seduced by the promise of the tool. Maybe you heard of another organization in your market that was getting great results. Maybe you read about these methodologies in the literature. Maybe you attended a conference. But if that is all you have done, then it is no wonder that you're hearing these kinds of forms of resistance from people in your organization that are not ready to commit. What we've learned is that it really doesn't matter the quality of the improvement methodology that you're interested in. If the organization has not accepted that this is the right solution for right now, then the effectiveness of your efforts is going to be mitigated. You will never get the level of sustainability that you seek because the organization is not ready to get on board. And what we've learned in 20 years of studying this is that leaders must be on board and trained from the very outset, and they need to be aware of potential and likely resistance that they're going to encounter. In fact, training in a methodology and walking away is a recipe for disaster. Leaders often give lip service to these kinds of initiatives, but as soon as they are distracted by some bright, shiny object, they have simply given permission to everyone else in the organization to withdraw their support as well. What it comes down to is that these are broad-based improvement strategies that are effectively culture-changing initiatives in organizations. And as soon as we begin to recognize that, we can begin to deal with the reality of how people respond to change. Now, I'd like to pivot to recognize some of the ways in which leaders have attempted to initiate change in their organization. You may be familiar with this term known as the burning platform. It had its origins in folklore and was later hijacked by management circles and management consultants as a way of trying to instigate fear and intimidation in the work environment. The story has it that a gentleman wakes up in the middle of the night on a burning platform and he has to make the decision between hoping to be rescued while on the platform or jumping into the frigid waters and risking that he would die by hypothermia. Well, he chooses to jump into the water and is miraculously rescued. He's later asked why he jumped into the water, and his response was, better probable death than certain death. And so, as I've noted, some management consultants have repurposed this mythology into the creation of urgency in organizations, and to draw some reference to perhaps some existential threat, perhaps some real threat in the marketplace, and to accompany this with a statement that this is our burning platform, and if we do not deal with this effectively, we may not be here next year. Maybe the CEO is also using those 4 magic words that he learned in business school. I need your help. So here are a couple of problems with this approach. First of all, most people in organizations today have very little left to give. They're all working very, very hard. Secondly, and more importantly, what is career limiting for the CEO is not necessarily career limiting for me. And many individuals will recognize if they simply put their head down that he may go away or she may go away. What is career limiting for the CEO is not career limiting for most of the people in the organization. And so therein lies the problem. Fear and intimidation is only going to have a limited effect of individuals in an organization. And frankly, there's a reason why the phrase irrationally exuberant has been applied to Americans. We are generally of the opinion that we will be okay, that we will prevail, and that we will come out stronger on the other side of some kind of a crisis. What it comes down to is there is no one-size-fits-all approach to change management. Every individual needs something different from their leaders, and as soon as those leaders understand that, they can begin to tailor their message and deal more effectively with the individuals and the resistance that they're likely to encounter whenever they introduce a change management initiative. And so when we begin to recognize that people respond differently to change, we can begin to anticipate what some of those reactions are likely to be. And here's the bad news for leaders. 2/3 of these reactions are going to be difficult for you. Only 1/3 of them are going to make your job easier, obviously involvement and commitment. As you look at these expressions, you can anticipate and understand some of the emotions that are underlying these behaviors that are exhibited. But take a look at the individual in the upper left-hand corner. This is the one you need to worry about. And many individuals represent this young lady who is pushing her emotions down and not revealing them. She'll reveal them soon enough, but not likely when you are around. What we understand is a better way forward is emotionally intelligent leadership. Emotionally intelligent leaders create resonance and trust among their followers. They empathize with their followers. And more than anything else, emotionally intelligent leaders understand how to give staff what they need. I'm not talking about giving them a new monitor or approving that software requisition that they submitted. We're talking about addressing their emotional needs and allowing them to feel that they can support your change management initiative. If you Google emotional intelligence today, you're likely to get about 1.8 million different hits. It can be a little overwhelming. We have here a very simple and serviceable definition. Emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive and understand our own emotions and behaviors and the emotions and behaviors of others. Have insight into ourselves and awareness and empathy for others. Why is emotionally intelligent leadership important? Well, for one reason, 75% of careers are derailed for reasons related to emotional competencies. And many leaders will acknowledge that they know what emotional intelligent leadership involves, but at the same time, they're not practicing it. When pressed to give an explanation why they're not actively practicing it, you'll often hear some comments like, well, if this was so important, they would have taught it to me in business school. Well, guess what? They're teaching it in business schools now. Why else is it important? Well, frankly, it has a very positive return on investment. And you can look at these studies as well as many others that are on the web that lay credence to the impact that an emotionally intelligent leadership approach can have on organizations. In the case of an accounting firm, they found that highly emotionally intelligent leaders added 390% incremental profit compared to others with a contribution of only 50. One insurance company found those trained in emotional intelligence sold an average of 114,000 in policies versus half that. for their peer group. A study of more than 500 executive search candidates identified emotional competence as a significantly better predictor of placement success than intelligence or experience. And finally, an analysis of 33 different studies of children found that those that were taught social and emotional skills had an 11 percentile gain in academic performance. This stuff works. Now here we have an oversimplification of a pretty complex area of social science, but at least it gives us a foundation for understanding this topic and getting some takeaways in this short program. An emotionally intelligent leader could detect a resistor from a supporter, and as you look at this slide, one of the immediate takeaways is that literally half of the general population will initially resist a change management initiative or any proposed change in their work conditions. On the far right-hand side, you'll have individuals that are likely to initiate and others that are likely to support. But the vast majority of individuals are going to have some special needs before they get on board with any change management initiative. And often this is like a case of ships passing in the night. And this is a real case study of a real organization that completed a series of behavioral assessments and using the same grid that I showed you in the previous slide, showing where individuals fell based on whether they were leaders or staff. It truly is almost like ships passing when you recognize that the leaders are, for the most part, are on the right side of this graph, asking the rest of the organization to get on board. In fact, exhibiting perhaps a little bit of impatience with the fact that they've been talking about this initiative, that they've laid the strategy out and their rationale for it, and yet you have a very large number of red dots there on the left-hand side saying everything from, I need more data, to over my dead body. Every one of these red dots needs something different from their leaders, and until the CEO saw this graph, he couldn't understand why he wasn't getting immediate success and traction for his change management initiative. Pulling back the layers of the onion a little further, we can make more use of this general pie chart, which again is an oversimplification, but allows us to understand that an emotionally intelligent leader knows how to give staff what they need. And we're borrowing from some of our feathered friends here to try to make this a little bit more understandable. So let's go through it. In the upper right-hand corner, we have the hawk, naturally extroverted and task-oriented. These are individuals with a high sense of urgency. These are the individuals that don't need a lot of direction. In fact, they would prefer not to be micromanaged. If you're working with a hawk and you have a hawk as a subordinate, you need to give that individual very clearly defined outcomes and then get out of their way and let them achieve them. Next, we have the peacock. The peacock is naturally extroverted and people-oriented. The peacock tends to be the life of the party. They are very amiable individuals, and their greatest need is to feel involved. They will be very supportive of your change management initiative. And they need to be given a role. The worst thing that you could do is to keep them out of the room where those discussions are happening because they want to be your supporter and your cheerleader. In the upper left-hand corner, we have the owl, naturally introverted and task-oriented. The owl's greatest fear is getting it wrong. The owl naturally needs data. They need evidence. They want to take the time to research an initiative. They don't want to be pressed into a decision until they have the benefit of that information. And then finally, the largest category, a category that is probably even larger in the healthcare industry, is the dove. Naturally introverted and people-oriented, the dove's greatest fear is change itself. The uncertainty associated with change, the risks associated with change can be paralyzing for the dove. Doves need to know that the patients, the employees, the customers, their fellow co-workers are not going to be harmed by a change management initiative before they are likely to get on board. Emotional intelligence follows from 4 iterative competencies, and the great news for everybody on today's program is that these are learned abilities. You're not born emotionally intelligent. Through the process of neuroplasticity, if you make the commitment to become emotionally intelligent, you can become more and more so every day. Daniel Goleman, who's largely regarded as the grandfather of the emotional intelligence movement, gives us these 4 competencies. It begins with self-awareness, understanding yourself and the way in which you are perceived by others, leading to self-management, controlling your emotions at the extremes, controlling those emotions that might be misinterpreted by other people, or upsetting to other people. Moving next into social awareness, giving you the ability to anticipate the needs of others and understand those needs. And then finally, relationship management, practicing what we call the opposite of the golden rule, not treating people the way you wish to be treated, but treating people the way they wish to be treated. When we're in a group environment, we often do some practice sessions using this model as a proof of concept. It's a little difficult to do on a webinar, so instead of quizzing you, I'll actually give you the answers. And this can be, again, serve as a useful proof of concept that these methodologies work. A hawk that you need to delegate responsibility to for an improvement project, again, you're going to give that individual the success criteria, the required outcomes, the ground rules for achievement, and then you're going to get out of their way. You might choose to practice some servant leadership and breaking down obstacles for them, but these people want to prove to you that they are capable of producing the result that you demand from them. An owl that you need to support a quick shift in how you approach the market. You know the owl is going to need data. And so in approaching the owl, rather than suggesting the data is what they need, you might ask them, John, what do you need to feel comfortable about getting on board with this? You know what the answer is going to be, but you're putting John in control and he'll appreciate that. A dove that you need to have participate in a change management initiative, you're going to want to let the dove know you did a lot of research on this. Maybe you have hired an expert that is guiding this initiative. But more than anything else, you want the dove to know that at the slightest sign of risk or danger to coworkers, to customers, to patients, you can revert back to a safe place. Finally, the peacock that you need to coach for improved performance. This can always be a tricky one because peacocks are so easily offended and have a high degree of self-awareness. The one thing you want to do with a peacock is you don't want to start with the negative information. You want to start with something positive. And before even getting into any negative feedback, you might instead say, you know what, John, I'd like you to try something a little different next week. Instead of interrupting constantly in the meetings, why don't you hold back and see if the rest of the people can be given an opportunity to contribute? You may find that they're on the same page as you are. And let's come back and talk next week and see how that works. These are all very different approaches with very different kinds of people and very different kinds of behavior styles, but I think you'll find that these approaches work. Emotional intelligence extends to something we call candidate selection. Candidate selection is the process of selecting candidates that you would put on improvement teams or candidates that you would put into training programs. One of the things we've learned is that, enthusiasm and availability are great, but those are not the best criteria. Not everybody is suited for improvement work. Not everybody is suited to be leading project teams. And how did we learn this? Well, in 20 years of training individuals in Lean Six Sigma, we often found people coming up to us and saying, gee, I didn't think it was going to take this longer, or gee, I didn't think it was going to be this hard. And, it's not like we weren't crystal clear from the very beginning. The problem was we were getting the wrong people. And we know that we're not doing anybody any favors if we invite them into a training program knowing that they're going to struggle. Our candidate assessment program predicts in advance if training candidates will succeed or struggle in learning Lean or Six Sigma methodologies, and we're able to get the right people on the bus from the very beginning. We'll often ask an organization to give us 40 or 50 candidates, and we will rank order them based on the proprietary criteria that we have established. A lot of this is intuitive. Individuals that are not intimidated by data, individuals that can move up and down the management chain, individuals that are organized and disciplined in how they attack a project. But the empirical method that we have established is extremely accurate in determining who is going to be best qualified to be in these programs. And if someone is not selected, we don't want to demoralize them. We'll simply put them on a project team so they can still contribute. This has been one of the most effective things that we have ever done in making sure that a change management initiative gets off to a good and firm start. And so the second secret of improvement, sustainable improvement capability, is establishing emotionally intelligent leadership and employing a rigorous method of candidate assessment to get the right people on the bus from the very beginning. It was difficult from our survey to determine whether people are practicing emotionally intelligent leadership. You can't really ask them that question and expect an honest answer, so we tried to get at it through other questions in the survey. Our survey said that 48% of leadership was engaged through active participation, but the balance was not. 40% are engaged through passive observation, that is, looking at reports, sitting through meetings, and 12% were not engaged or informed at all. So it begs the question, how can you really practice emotionally intelligent leadership through passive observation? We also found that only 42% of the respondents were meeting with project sponsors regularly. This is where you do have the opportunity to practice emotionally intelligent leadership. 26 were organizing formal tollgate reviews. But again, only 18% are looking at reports. Fully 32% are not engaged actively in the process of shepherding improvements through their organization. Again, begs the question, how can you practice emotionally intelligent leadership if all you're doing is reading reports? I'd like to pivot now to another question, and that is what stands in the way of transformation? You know, with the digital economy, with the Affordable Care Act, and with other threats in specific industries, the process of transformation is an imperative for many companies today and is all over social media. Again, this is something we've been studying for some time, and we have a blog post titled "Don't Bother Me, I'm Transforming" on LinkedIn that you might find interesting. You can simply Google that title to find it. You can also find some relevant information in the white paper that we published a year ago. But again, we'll distill some of that for you here. We know that transformation success criteria involve employee empowerment. McKinsey & Company found a 70% success rate when staff felt a sense of ownership over the effort, more so when staff were encouraged to make change happen, and even more so when both ownership and encouragement were combined. Getting employees involved in change management is essential at the grassroots level. How best to engage the staff? Well, there's many different ways. The most important, however, is to create opportunities for staff to share their views and opinions about where to improve, rather than through the rumor mill. And this is all very intuitive, but what leaders often forget is that the people closest to the work are best qualified to comment on where the work needs to be improved. And sometimes this just needs to be repeated. Barriers to business transformation, again, are very intuitive. Taking shortcuts, not involving the front line, sending conflicting messages, having ambitious expectations that are not realistic, or no clarity of vision are all going to stand in the way of an organized effort at business transformation. And what this comes down to is that there seems to be a disconnect between doing things right and doing the right things. You know, Lean and Six Sigma and some of these other methodologies that represent that first secret, they're great for doing things right, but neither Lean nor Six Sigma will inform you on how to do the right things. What we have observed is that organizations work so hard to get the quick win that what they end up with are projects of marginal benefit. They may look back after a year or two of investment in Lean or Six Sigma and find that they haven't really moved the needle that much on priorities that were strategically important to the organization. And you can't blame them. You know, the quick win is attractive. It's a win. But again, at the end of the day, if you're not moving the needle, if you're not hitting the big strategic priorities, then after that effort, you're going to be exhausted as an organization. And guess what happens? Organizations tend to blame the method when it was the execution that was flawed. The solution comes in something known as project portfolio management. And project portfolio management is something that, frankly, we do in our own personal lives. We manage our own personal portfolios through websites like Fidelity and Scottrade and E-Trade. So it would only stand to reason that we would bring the same discipline in the projects that we undertake in the organizations that we serve. So simply, project portfolio management is the centralized management of processes used by managers to analyze and collectively manage current or proposed projects based on numerous key characteristics. The objectives being to determine the optimal mix for the delivery and to schedule activities to best achieve an organization's goals while honoring constraints. By using project portfolio management, organizations get a bird's eye view of the operations. They can coordinate timelines, they can develop priorities, and they can allocate resources. And so this becomes the final secret among our 3 secrets of sustainable improvement capability. It starts with commitment to a method. That method is championed by leaders that will break down barriers to accomplishing success in the organization and by practicing emotionally intelligent leadership. And they are grounded in a technical infrastructure that becomes the glue that holds these programs together, that creates a level of transparency and accountability and collaboration that frankly does not exist in organizations today. Creato's flagship product is the Compass Quality Management System, and Compass fits within the category of a project portfolio management system, according to G2 Crowd. Today, you can find many, many white papers on this subject. It started with Washington think tanks, and it moved into the consulting community. And we'd be happy to provide you with PDFs of these studies and some of the findings that they put forth, and we'll share some of those here. Starting with the view of a PPM manager who says, now we look at the data and we prioritize. Will the project increase revenue? Will it decrease cost? Are there regulatory concerns? Then they look at the resources, operations, and business units. They get aligned and they execute. Here is a collection of some of the findings from those reports. And again, it would stand to reason that if there was one thing that you could invest in on behalf of your organization that would help you to complete more projects faster, and projects with greater returns, then that one investment would have a very compelling return on investment. And in the upper right-hand corner, Forrester Research puts that figure at about 250%. In fact, most of our licensees for Compass have claimed that they have recovered the cost of their investment in that system from their very first project. In addition to these compelling returns from project activity, there is just the matter of time that you would get back from investing in these kinds of systems. A PPM system makes everyone more productive, as you can see, second column, third line down. Administrative management time on projects is reduced by about 20%. Can you imagine getting that time back? And the reason for this is simply that many administrators will spend countless hours preparing reports for consumption by internal audiences, and as difficult as it may be to hear, that's not valuable time. We're not fixing anything by producing reports, and a competent PPM system will send those reports automatically or be available from one click. So many benefits, as you can see here, and again, we're happy to supply you with these white papers if it would support your efforts to educate internally and to build the case for a project portfolio management system. Our survey says that the majority of respondents are still using spreadsheets. These folks are frankly embarrassed that they cannot tell you the number of projects that they have underway at any given time or the return on investment from completed projects, because those spreadsheets are inadequate and out of date the minute that they're published. 16% of respondents have a homegrown solution, 22% have licensed commercial software, and 10 do not track progress at all. Only a minority of respondents were able to claim that the information available to them is reliable, easily retrievable, or adequate. You know, the results of the surveys are reminiscent of the famous quote from Lewis Carroll in Alice in Wonderland, that if you don't know where you are going, then any road will get you there. Organizations do not have the visibility into what's happening in the organization at the enterprise level. And you know, we continue to see this challenge between not only doing things right, but in particular, doing the right things. We also know that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and Charleston Area Medical Center has received an enormous amount of recognition for their efforts to follow that straight line. This is a result of their own self-assessment starting in 1999 when they made the commitment to the Six Sigma methodologies and began working with our company. They assessed their own competency on a 5-point Likert scale on essentially 3 questions. How capable are we to articulate a vision of excellence for our people? How competent are we to mobilize resources toward that vision? And how capable are we to sustain the good changes that we've made? They averaged those and other responses on this 5-point scale, and as you can see, year on year, they experienced significant gains. It's difficult to put a number on something as ambiguous as corporate culture, but I think that this does a pretty good job. And Charleston Area Medical Center went on to receive the National Malcolm Baldrige Award for Excellence. We also follow a straight line in working with organizations. As you can see here, we begin with emotionally intelligent training for the leadership so that they can understand how to create an accepting environment for change. They can understand how to break down obstacles. They can understand how to give every member of their team what they need in order that they can feel comfortable to support the vision. We use a similar empirical process as I described earlier to select the individuals that will go into our training programs. We encourage organizations to cast a wide net. We're going to look across the organization because this is an inclusive opportunity, not an exclusive initiative. If individuals are not qualified to go into our training programs, we still want their contribution. We will put them on a project team. We initiate our Lean and Six Sigma training both on-site and online. We know that everybody likes to learn a little differently. The online training contains all the same information conveyed in the classroom, and so individuals can literally move at their own pace. We launch projects in Compass from the very beginning, so people are getting that early exposure to Compass, that early adoption of new technology as a new way of doing business. And then when they complete their projects, we like to make a big deal about it. We want to issue them a diploma and an affidavit. Oftentimes we'll have a graduation ceremony. We want to recognize the contribution that these folks have made to their organization. And then we want to repeat the cycle with projects that were already in Compass as a result of our earlier efforts to identify opportunities. The experience at Charleston Area Medical Center is consistent with our own findings of 7-to-1 return on investment. You can see here the very impressive gains they were able to record as their Lean and Six Sigma program gained traction. It's important to know in looking at this slide that they would cap the return on investment after 2 years. So what you're seeing here is not incremental contribution from the initial group of projects, but year-on-year increases from new projects that have been launched since the beginning of their program. The last 3 deployments of Lean and Six Sigma that we did with other organizations delivered a return on investment of 6-to-1 in the very first year. Next, I'd like to say a few words about our project portfolio management solution, Compass. Compass allows you to gather ideas, to translate ideas into project, and to provide just-in-time training to individuals that are running those projects so that even if you've never had any experience in improvement, performance improvement, you can leverage Compass and drive projects forward. In designing Compass, we had the design philosophy that we wanted to put improvement on autopilot. We knew how difficult it was in large organizations to shepherd through improvement activity. We wanted to give our customers the ability to sleep better at night, knowing that Compass was doing some of that for them. And moving projects faster and giving people what they needed in order to do that. So it begins with identifying opportunities from as large a group as you wish. You can drive Compass down to the staff level and use it essentially as an employee suggestion box. We like to say you can stop arguing about what to work on. Compass will automatically prioritize the ideas and give you a list. Generally, there is a smaller group of individuals in an organization that is looking at improvement ideas and opportunities already. This just becomes an agenda item for that governance group to determine which ideas would be translated into actual live projects. Compass is agnostic to the improvement method, whether you are an organization that practices PDCA, Lean, Kaizens, Six Sigma, or any other method. Compass probably already has that method in the system. You can also add methods and you can modify the methods that are there. Certified black belts will really enjoy and appreciate the discipline that Compass offers them. Individuals with no experience in improvement work will similarly like the fact that Compass will hold their hand and walk them through a method. Compass will recommend the best tools and training based on where you are in the project. The tools are comparable to tools you might find in Minitab, Visio, QMacros, Sigma Excel, and other tools that allow you to do statistical analysis, process mapping, and project management. The training is the same training sold by the American Society for Quality and the training that we built for them back in 2005. At any point in time, you can look into the system and evaluate the progress of projects in flight, look at projects that have been completed, look at the contribution of projects across departments, facilities, and business areas, look at the resource demands on different individuals to see if they are able to take on another project. But if you don't go into Compass, Compass may actually reach out to you. It will keep you informed about the progress of your project. It will give you a heads up if you're approaching a milestone, if you're missing data, or if you're falling behind, and let you know if your ideas are getting attention. We wanted an application that would unify management and staff. So in the upper hemisphere, you have tools and features that will be appreciated by management, and in the bottom half of this slide, you will see those features that are going to be important to the people that are doing the heavy lifting of the improvement work. Compass has been recognized as the #1 idea management system and a high performer for project management and enterprise PMO management on G2Crowd.com. G2 Crowd collects and curates end user reviews of common business applications. They validate those users and go to great lengths to ensure that these are legitimate reviews. We have actually nothing to do with the collection of the reviews, but we do see them published after they have been approved by G2 Crowd, and you can see several of them here. We're quite proud of the recognition that G2 Crowd has conferred upon Compass. Compass has also been recognized by CIO Magazine as one of the top 20 quality management systems for both 2017 and 2008. At this point, I'm going to conclude our program, but if you have just a few more minutes, we're going to tee up a demonstration of Compass for you. This video demonstration is no more than 5 minutes long. And I do appreciate your attention today. I hope you'll enjoy the video, and I hope that you will contact us if we can arrange to provide you a personal demonstration of the Compass management system, or if we can supply you with any information about any of our other products and services, the leadership development program, the candidate assessment program, or our Lean and Six Sigma on-site or online program offerings. Thanks again. Stand by for the video and make it a great day.
Welcome to this brief demonstration of the award-winning Compass Quality Management System. Compass will literally put improvement on autopilot in your organization, completing more projects faster, and projects with greater returns. Your team will be given the tools, support, and direction necessary to drive your efforts at operational excellence and business transformation. In other words, no matter how you look at it, Compass pays for itself. No other comparable application contains as many features or as much value for the dollar. Let me show you some of the features of Compass that will support breakthrough improvement in your organization. Users can quickly add an idea to Compass by indicating the anticipated value to your organization and the specific business case. Our impact risk matrix will frame the business opportunity with little effort, while the system prioritizes the idea for comparison to others. From the very first screen, Compass improves employee engagement while creating a robust pipeline of opportunities. And by the way, most of the fields you see here are actually customizable. Leverage employee feedback in Compass by comparing perception to reality for improvement opportunities. Users can comment and rate ideas, while management compares workforce support to objective criteria. Your management and quality team can review the merits of each idea and resource those with greatest potential. Dynamic sorting helps you evaluate the range of opportunities more effectively than a static spreadsheet. In other words, Compass helps you to not only do things right, but to do the right things. It's no wonder Compass has been recognized as the #1 idea management system compared to over 75 other applications on G2Crowd.com. Management can send feedback to users from within Compass. Show your staff that you appreciate their initiative. Ask others for the information you need. You'll be promoting collaboration and establishing accountabilities up front while communicating your support. Once an idea is approved, Compass will help drive your project. This becomes the handoff within Compass from management to staff. Compass makes it easy to do the right thing by guiding the user through project work, providing tools and support, and a place for documentation. Need a little direction before performing a value stream analysis? Tell Compass to get me the tool, or even get me the training. Jump into the Lean online training available also from ASQ, now incorporated within Compass. This is a highly evolved program including professional audio, exercises, learning games, and case studies. At any time, send an updated A3 report to your team and stakeholders, and Compass will not only create the report, it will drop it into an email for you. Compass is compatible with PDCA, Lean, Six Sigma, ISO 9001, and any improvement method you use in your organization. Compass is a high performer for enterprise project management on G2 Crowd, and it's one of this year's top quality management systems according to CIO Review. Compass includes the entire body of knowledge for Lean to support staff new to improvement work, and it even integrates readily with SharePoint for your own intranet, enabling you to create a turnkey collaborative environment. Compass offers a highly flexible user-driven reporting portal. You can view reports in an A3 format or reports with a global view. Reports offer the ability to monitor all activity, progress against goals, and return on investment. Compass puts improvements on autopilot by automatically advising staff if their projects are ahead, behind, or missing data. Finally, we can't talk about Compass without showcasing our robust tools. Compass will literally interview each user and build a tool based on your specific needs, allowing you to create everything from a value stream analysis, Gantt or control chart, to computerized simulation. Compass can replace annual spending on dozens of disparate applications in many organizations. Bring order to chaos as Compass guides your team through the completion of projects, and management achieves true line of sight into all improvement activity in the organization. Finish more improvement projects, finish projects faster, and finish projects with stronger results. All within the guidance of your Compass. Compass.